Good idea. Worth examining in great depth. Calvin Ridley has issues in Atlanta. The Cowboys have issues of a sort at wide receiver. How about a trade? Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco, home of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's check in depth with what's happening with the Atlanta Falcons in their wide receiver room and what's happening with the Dallas Cowboys, their wide receiver room, and the salary cap, and see if there's a match. There's gossip, of course, about Calvin Ridley leaving Atlanta, and that gossip is real. There is fire under that smoke. There is speculation about which teams might want to bid on him. And that takes us to my colleague and buddy, Jeff Kavanaugh, who just kind of throws it out there on Twitter. Calvin Ridley for a second-round pick? Good idea. And maybe Jeffrey's talking about for any team, but certainly Jeff is Cowboy-centric too. So, good idea. Let's see. And let's do a serious examination of this. The Atlanta Falcons have their wide receiver questions for 2022. The Cowboys have theirs too. Let's see if each club can provide answers for the other. Ridley is the Atlanta wideout who doesn't seem to want to be in Atlanta. So to be determined first, where is Calvin Ridley on his mental health journey? You'll remember that this was the year that he was going to take over for Julio Jones, who got traded to the Titans. When Jones was injured a year ago, Ridley exploded onto the scene, not unpredictably, and was a Pro Bowl caliber star in Atlanta. A breakout season that was supposed to be followed this year by a commanding performance. And then it all fell apart. And it fell apart because Calvin says he needed to leave the team to go on a mental health journey. So that's got to be determined first. And then after that, and this is the subject of much debate, what is his value? If this was just about a 27-year-old wide receiver due to make $11 million, who's capable of 100 catches in a year, with size and speed and instinct and all of it, it would not be much debate. Whatever the highest price you would pay for a wide receiver is, that might be it. That, of course, isn't quite how this is working. This is more complex than that. National media people are saying that Ridley can be had for something less than a first-round pick. And again, maybe that's where Jeffrey comes in and says, great, less than a first-round pick, good idea. Let's go through the complications. Atlanta presently poised to have only a couple of kid receivers under contract for 2022. Really just one guy who was on their roster last year who's under contract to be on their roster going forward. So there's going to be changes in Arthur Smith's room as far as the wide receivers are concerned. A clean solution, obviously, in Atlanta would be for Calvin Ridley at age 27 to find himself, accept his paycheck, reverse course, and remain there. Now, at some point, Atlanta probably needs to look in the mirror and wonder, why is it just a coincidence that Jones wanted to leave and now Ridley is maybe unhappy here? That's a Falcons problem to be looked at. But that would be the easy one. Just go to Calvin Ridley and say, when you're ready to play, are you ready to play? Good, let's fix this, come play. But the buzz about his departure seems a little too loud for that to be realistic. So you've got speculation that a third-round pick is really all that can be netted in trade for a Pro Bowl receiver in his prime. Then along comes an ESPN report, it's Jeremy Fowler, who's saying the market would be robust for Ridley once he's available in trade. Fowler further states that if Ridley's back in an NFL lineup next season, multiple teams view him as a top 10 wideout. I buy that. If you could go back to the beginning of this season and list guys who are going to put up big numbers, Ridley's on that list. There's no doubt. He'd just done it. What's the payoff for a top 10 player at his position and in his prime? Quote from Fowler, one league exec says a conditional second-round pick, which could turn into a first-rounder based on playing time, seems like a sweet spot. Oh, sweet. Yes, and good idea. Like Jeff says, yes. if he became everything that he was going to be and produced for his new team might, depending on the team, be comfortable with having to sacrifice a first-round pick. And the first-round pick, of course, would be a bonanza for the Falcons. We can smartly assume, though, that that's not their present demand. How can you ask that for a guy who's not here? We would also smartly assume that the Cowboys' first-round pick idea would be a no-go. They've been down that road. They did it with Amari Cooper. They traded the pick. Not that they had buyer's remorse, but it was sure painful that next spring when they didn't have a first-round pick. And then they did the $20 million thing, and they're debating about any remorse there. I don't think the Joneses are going down the first-round pick for a wide receiver road again, especially because they have CeeDee Lamb already here. There's already a guy who can be the X, a guy who can be the number one. The Falcons would like to see a bidding war happen. That's maybe why you're hearing Patriots, Jets, Dolphins. Let's get a bidding war going, and that would keep Dallas out of the running too. Again, the dollars and cents aren't the problem here with Ridley. He's an $11 million guy, though he is due for his new deal soon, assuming a team wants to do that. But the money is an issue as it relates to the Cowboys because Dallas is already trying to figure out what to do with Cooper, their perennial Pro Bowler who is pricey. Can you move off Cooper and on to Ridley? Or with CeeDee Lamb already here as your number one guy, should the Cowboys go about fixing other parts of the roster where there are bigger holes than they have at wide receiver? If you have CeeDee Lamb as your number one guy, now again, Cedric Wilson, Michael Gallup, and I believe Malik Turner, all free. So there's holes there too, but maybe they don't need to be filled with the exchange of a first-round pick or the preparation to pay a guy his first big contract, because those things are coming, assuming Calvin Ridley comes back and plays. The biggest reason that this is a good idea on paper needs real-life examination. In real life, Calvin Ridley's mental health challenges, and this is not an insult to him, this is the reality, they create major doubt about his readiness and willingness to play. And the idea that I would give a conditional second that would jump to a first if he plays ignores the possibility that he might not play at all. I'm much more interested in giving you a conditional seventh-round pick that becomes something if he plays. I can't give you a second-round pick and then have to eat it because the whole thing blows up in my face. So there's a part of this where somebody is trying to stir this up, so there's momentum here. So a good idea in the imagination becomes a good idea on paper. But until Calvin Ridley establishes with the Falcons or somebody, I'm good, I'm feeling good, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go catch 100 balls, I'm happy with $11 million, where do you want me to go? This really can't be a front burner Cowboy idea. Stephen Jones, the Cowboys COO, is on record. He's saying it again. He said it already twice in 2 weeks, that the Cowboys' view of free agency and the managing of the salary cap is draft well, which is fine, and sign your own homegrown guys. Make sure you draft the right guys and then sign them. That doesn't preclude you, obviously, from doing some shopping if you want to. And again, this isn't a $20 million receiver. This is an $11 million wide receiver. But Stephen is trying to tell us that this is not the path that they prefer. That's for certain. So let's pretend that Calvin Ridley did not have the mental health challenges, that Calvin Ridley had played a full season in Atlanta, that Calvin Ridley had caught 100 balls for 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns. I don't believe even in that case the Cowboys are giving up a premium pick for him. This has got to be a bargain for Dallas to do something like this. And again, it can't be a bargain financially. That's going to be $11 million and then the future. This would have to be a kind of a backdoor through channels exploration of whether or not that player wanted to be here would be excited about playing football here. It feels good enough about playing football. And you'd almost have to do it in a way where you find out more than Atlanta knows. So you can go then to Atlanta and say, listen, we're going to lowball you on this thing because you don't know if you even have a player or not. But then you'd have to know. And that's an awful bunch of hoops to have to jump through to get where you want to go on Calvin Ridley. It seems much simpler to try to figure out how to get where you want to go on Amari Cooper. Thanks for subscribing to what we do here. Spread the word to Cowboy Nation that we are almost 50,000 strong here now on the Fish Report, and I appreciate you being a part of it. Fish out.